Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching Mike's Garage. Listen, I wanted to address a couple subscribers that asked me a question about the emergency braking system on the cars. They really didn't give me a whole lot of information about what kind of cars they have. There's a couple different things. I'll talk about the 2018 Murano that I have. It has that big sensor in the front underneath the right headlight. It's down on the bumper, below actually the bumper line. Again, you have to keep that clean. If it gets dirty, it gets full of salt. I mean, we're almost out of the weather where the salt and chemicals are kicking up on it. But you have to make sure it's clean. Now, when I'm driving along, I'll get that beep and the car crash symbol will come up. There's the front and back of a car with the star in the middle. That'll come up. And then after a while, it'll beep and it'll come up again that the crash warning system is now unavailable. And that'll stay on for a while. Sometimes it'll stay on until I shut the car off, and when it's started up, it kind of resets itself. One of the things that I've seen people suggest to do is to shut it off. I really would not recommend shutting that off for insurance reasons. If that's there to help you and you've actually, it's kind of like not wearing a seatbelt. Okay, you got hurt, you didn't wear your seatbelt, oh well. If you would have had the crash warning system on, even though it's annoying and it beeps when it's not supposed to beep most of the time, if that could have saved you or saved some other person or just prevented a serious accident, just made it a minor fender bender, you really want to have that on your side if something happens to you, okay? So I don't recommend shutting it off. If there's something wrong with it, try to get it fixed. See if the dealership can do something with it. I know they're trying to improve on it year after year, and my car's coming up on 4 years old. So I know they've improved it every year, year after year. The newer cars not only have the crash warning system, but they have that lane sensor where if you wander off of the lane or you're wandering into the oncoming lane, or let me say, if it thinks you're wandering out of your lane, it'll beep. If it thinks you might hit something in front of you, it beeps to wake you up to say, hey, it looks like you're going to hit that thing, is that right? Like I say, a hedge and different things jump out in front of you. I've had deer run in front of the car, never beeped a bit. I've had it beep and tell me, hey, watch out, you might hit this, and there's nothing there. I've had it beep when, I wasn't paying attention, and here's a car coming up, and if I don't start slowing down, I'm going to hit it, and it beeps. It wakes me up. I look to see what it is. Don't ignore it. And I had to hit the brakes to slow down to prevent, because the guy in front of me, well, the whole line of traffic in front of me slowed down, and I didn't see it until I, was closing in on it pretty quick. But it gave me plenty of heads up to stop before I got there. Like I say, I've never had it put the brakes on for me, that I wasn't really that out of it, that I wasn't paying attention. But that's what you have to do to keep an eye on that. Now, after I rambled on about all that, there was a question about what can you do when it's on the dashboard light? How can you get that to go off? Well, you can go through on some of the cars in the settings, and you can reset it back to factory settings. On my car, it does not give you the option to shut it off. Some of the cars do. Now, I'm talking about a Nissan. So check that out. If it's an option on yours to reset it through your display on your speedometer. On your steering wheel, you have those buttons to go over to system, and you go through the checklist, and you go through the options, and you can get down to the ABS, the braking system, and see how to restart it or adjust it. Chevy has a way to do it where you turn the key on, don't start the engine, the car is off, you get in the car, you put the key on, all the lights come up on the dashboard, you push the gas pedal down and up 3 times, and the brake system light is supposed to flash, and then you turn the key off and turn it back on, and the system will blink a couple times and go out. That means you reset the emergency braking system back to the original settings, okay? Honda has a different way of doing it, where you hold your foot, you turn the key on, you hold your foot on the brake, until the emergency braking system light starts to flash. You let your foot off the brake. This is with the car on, not running. And then you put your foot back on the brake again, and the light will go out, and that means you've reset it back to the factory settings. The other way is a hard reboot, okay? It's just like rebooting your phone. I mean, we've all have those smartphones where every once in a while it just doesn't work right or it's stuck on a screen. You have to shut it off, shut it all the way down, and then restart it to get everything back to the normal settings, or maybe just do an update on some of those things. So one of the ways they recommend you do that with the car is you go under the hood to the battery. Now, I know Umberto, he replaced the battery, and or Saif, maybe it was Saif, he replaced the battery and he's had a problem with the light ever since. Well, you have to shut the whole thing down. It takes about 4 or 5 minutes to let the power drain. One of the things they recommend you do is the first thing you do is disconnect the negative off of the battery. Take the negative cable off, set it aside. Don't make sure it doesn't touch anything. And then take the positive cable off. Now you got both cables off of the battery. All right. Now you turn the headlights on. The lights won't work because the battery's not there, but it drains the capacitors. You can even touch the cables together, not while they're on there. If the cables won't reach to touch each other, you could use the jumper wire, but that will drain the capacitors. It takes about 3 or 4 or 5 minutes to drain the capacitors. And then it means your clock won't work. You're going to have to reset everything when you go back, but it shuts the whole system down. Now, when you hook the battery back up, you always do the positive first, because you don't want the negative hooked up in case you accidentally, with your wrench while you're tightening the positive cable, touch another thing under the hood. You don't want to get a spark, okay? You don't want to get burnt. So put the positive cable on first, then put the negative cable on and tighten that, and then you're going to start the car. Well, everything has to come up. The computer's going to reboot, and it's going to have to reset the idle, because most of the car computers are learning computers, where it learns how you drive, it learns what your preferences are, it learns what the idles are. It idles at a different speed when the air conditioning is on, because it takes a little more energy to turn the air conditioning pump. So that's a little different. The clock on your radio is going to have to be reset. All the channels that you have programmed to your radio are probably going to have to be reset. And all of the sensors for your anti-lock brake system, for all the other sensors that are there, your tire pressure system, your backup camera, all those things are going to have to be reset and relearn. It might take a day or two till everything gets back to normal, but that's what happens when you do a hard reboot on the computers in your car. Now, if you're driving, let's say, a BMW or Mercedes or Range Rover, those high-end cars have several different computers. And when you do that to one of those cars, everything has to be reset. And I don't recommend you do that as a do-it-yourself or at home. Take it to the dealer. If you got one of those cars, you got money, go get them to fix it, take a look at it. The other thing is with the anti-lock brake system, if your car's 5, 8, 10 years old, a lot of times the sensors go bad. And I know the most common one that I've ever been around is the right rear sensor. The toothed ring that goes around, that gets corroded, the sensor gets corroded, you have to redo the sensor, or one of the wires is rotted and corroded and it lost contact with the sensor. So you'll get your ABS system, the light is on, that there's a problem with it. You can go to a dealer. See, you used to be able to go to the auto parts store and they would hook up their computer and they would tell you what code it is and what is recommending what part you change, okay? Well, the automobile industry got into the business where you can't do that anymore. So the auto parts stores, at least right here in Pennsylvania, you're not allowed to do that. You have to have your own meter, or you have to go to a dealer and they're going to charge you $50 to tell you what it is. If you go to like Pep Boys or Advanced Auto or something like that, where they sell the parts, they may still do it for you, or they could tell you, here's what we recommend that you do, bring it into the shop and we'll fix it here for you. So ask the proper questions. So there's 3 different ways that I know of that you could reset it on your own. You do the gas pedal trick, you can do the brake pedal trick, or you can do the hard reboot, disconnect the battery, let it drain for 4 or 5 minutes, hook the battery back up, and then start the car, and everything should reboot, and hopefully that'll correct it. If it doesn't, you go to a dealer and get that computer on there to give you an error code to see what's going on. Well, I know that's a long answer, but that's the way I do it. I ramble on and on. I'm sorry. So just be careful under the hood. Don't go getting hurt. Watch those sparks on that battery. And the other thing about the emergency braking system is if it fails, if the light is on, it's not that it's dangerous to drive the car, okay? It reverts back to the standard braking system where it doesn't pulse the brakes. If you're skidding, it'll just put you into a skid. You can overcome that by pulsing the brakes yourself with your foot, and that's how they come up with that, because that was always recommended, that if you're in a slide, you pulse the brakes so your tires turn a little bit each time and try to regain traction. So if your emergency brake light is on, your emergency braking system light is on, you still have a good solid braking system. It's just that one of the sensors is probably bad, or the computer has to be reset. So there, I did it in record time, probably over 10 minutes. Thanks for watching, everybody. Thanks for watching Mike's Garage. Hope that was helpful. Could always use more subscribers. Click that subscribe button. See you next time.